Hi, welcome back to Learn Payload with Colin. Today we're continuing our series on the real estate marketplace platform using Payload CMS and NextJS. And today we're going to work on the features collection. So the property features, things like hardwood floors, swimming pool, landscaped yard, that kind of stuff. We're going to build a collection out for that we're going to use as a relationship field to the properties, and those features will have things like categories, of course, like interior and exterior, and then we're going to be able to render them out on our stubbed out property details page that we're currently working on. So we're also going to do a seeder for those features, and like we did for the zip codes. So that's all we're going to cover today. There's a little more detail in there, but that's the basics, what we're going to cover. Let me go over the end result of what you might expect to get out of this video first, and then we'll from there we'll dive into the code. Okay, so here's our sort of stubbed out property details page. Obviously, this is not going to be the final one, and to build this out, let's take a look at the admin panel. So here is that property in the payload admin panel. We have that title, the address, zip code, price, status, and these are all the fields we did yesterday. And today we're going to be building out this features selector, has many selector. You can delete these and add more. That kind of thing, and we save it, and you can actually see the data here as well. And then also we've added a preview link so that you can click on this while you're working on it and go to the actual property detail page. So okay, that's what we're going to work on today, so let's get right into it. Oh, first, if you're new here, thanks for coming by. My name is Colin Brown, and this is my channel, Learn Payload with Colin. We are currently building out, like I said, a marketplace for real estate agents to market their listings using on a fictitious agency called TennHomes, TENN Homes, that serves the East Tennessee area. And so I am currently learning Payload CMS, and I'm using this series to kind of document that journey. And if that's something that interests you, make sure you subscribe and get notified for upcoming videos. We're going to do quite a bit. I'm estimating about 25 or more videos to finish off this platform, but it's going to be a complete website for agents. So make sure you subscribe if you're interested in that. All right, let's get right into it. All right, so we're in our cursor editor, and you're currently looking at all the finished code that we're going to be doing today, but we're going to rewind this and start from scratch, starting from the previous video. So we can just do that right now. There. Now we are back to where we were yesterday. Yeah, good. All right. Let's just make sure all of our node modules are up to date. And so let's get all this going. So now we're going to start on our features collection. All right, we're just going to create a new file, features.ts, and we're going to do import payload. There we go. Features. All right, let's start there. You know what? I need to get in the habit of turning off cursor when I'm doing these, because it just really gets it to be annoying sometimes. So I'm gonna snooze this for 1 hour. All right. So yes, we need a name field, but it will be required. We want it to be unique. We don't want multiple entries of hardwood floors, for instance. And I want to set a separate, I want to create a custom label for it. And that would just be feature name. And I like to add, sometimes I like to add descriptions to the field in the admin panel, like a little hint text. And you can do that through this description field. Name of the feature. All right, we have our first field. The next one is going to be category. You're going to want to be able to create a feature, but assign it to a category like interior or exterior, or could be community, like if you have like a clubhouse, something like that, and then a miscellaneous or other category. So we're going to do that. Name equals category. And this is going to be a select drop-down type. And this will be required. And selects, when you do a type select, you need options, and that's going to be an array of label and value. And this will be interior, and value will be interior, like so. And then we're going to do the same for exterior. Okay, so now we need to add it to our payload config. Good. All imported correctly. And now I think if we did everything right, we should be able to see it in the admin panel. Let's go into the admin panel. Let's get our development server running. And now head on over to the browser. There is our stubbed out homepage that we did the other day. And that's going to be a hydration issue. Let's go to the admin panel. I restarted the database, so that means we're going to be, I cleared out the database, which means we're going to have to create our first user again. Admin 123, admin 123. All right, so we have our features collection here. Create a new one. Category interior. Let's save that. Good. Looking pretty good. Okay, now let's add this feature to our property now. We're not going to be able to do that because we don't have it as a related field yet. So if you go in here, you can see we don't have that. So let's go into the properties collection and now add that as a related field. We're going to have name, features, type, relationship, relation to, features. I think by default for relationships we has many is true, but because we're going to want to be able to select more than one. And by default, I think it's true, but just to be more explicit, we will say we will write it out anyway. So, and then yeah, that should be good. Let's see what happens in the admin panel. And there we go. Here's the features. Loading. Look at that. So it's showing the ID here in the features, and we don't. That's the default. It always just shows the ID when you have a relationship. So let's go into the features collection and change that. And we can do that through this little admin control here. We say use as title, and we will say you give it the name of the field name here. And so now if we go back to the browser, we should be able to see that difference. So there you go. All right, let's add a few more features, and then we'll create a property with multiple features, and then we'll add it to the properties detail page that we stubbed out. Let's just add another one. We'll call it maybe exterior, and we'll call it swimming pool. And we'll go to properties, create new property, stunning home in the Smoky Mountains, 555 Main Street, zip code. Oh, we need to seed our zip codes. Let's do that real quick. P npm db seed. Okay. Head on back to the admin panel. Okay. Hardwood floors, swimming pool, listing status for sale, zip code, street address, and title. Oh, you know what? I made a mistake yesterday in the previous video when we reformatted the shape of the query result of the property, and I'll show you that. I made a mistake, and I'll show you that right now. If you go into the properties collection, I have this hook, this after read hook, and the goal of this hook was to show you the API here. Yeah, so you see here I have this group called address, street, city, state abbreviation, state name, and zip. That's not actually the fields in this collection on this record. I used a hook to reformat and reshape the output because I didn't like the way it was set up with the zip code. And we did that through this after read hook here. And so I grabbed the doc of the zip code. So this after read, if you recall from the previous video, or if you're just joining us, this is like, I consider this kind of like a middleware, if you're familiar with that, like with an Express app, or, through like a web request, or, even a NextJS middleware. So as the document makes its way to its final endpoint, so whether you're querying it on the front end, or it's being output for the REST API, or in the case of what we just saw in the API tab in the admin panel, that's where that's the end. That's considered the endpoint, the final end to that piece of data. And this is that the hook here kind of gives you access to that last stage of the data. So there's all kinds of like filtering and validation rules and processing. And then there's this last stage called after read that you can hook into and then shape the final document in a variety of different ways. And so because we have the zip code was kind of in a nested weird way, I didn't like it. So what I did is I kind of flattened it all out into this address field. And so I grabbed the street, grabbed the city, zip code, state name, zip code, code, and then just rolled it all up into here, into this object, and then created a new property or attribute on the document of that record called address. And then I just put it all together into a single doc because what I wanted to do is I wanted to remove the old attributes that I do not want anymore, like zip code and street. Now that we have it all rolled up into this address, I thought, oh, we don't need these anymore. Let me remove them. The problem is they're no longer even available to be shown in the form here, because this also uses that this form also uses that final end result of that document. And so it's not going to break because it's not aware of the fact that it's just reading from that object, but it's not going to show up here. And so I made a mistake of doing that, and honestly then I think it just means I don't even need this anymore, and I could just do doc here, and I think that should fix it. Yeah, so it fixed it. So now you go back over to the API here, you can see it's all, the street is back and the zip code is back, but we still have at least our address. All right, I just wanted to cover that. I made a mistake in the previous video. You don't want to remove anything that, especially if it's a real field needed for this form. And so before we start rendering this out on the property detail page, I want to show you something that will allow you to have a link in here called preview. So we can actually create a button that says preview right on your property admin page that will take you to anywhere you want it to go. But in this case, we're going to take it to we're going to navigate to the property detail page of this property, of this record. And it's actually very easy to do. In the admin section of the collection, we're in our properties collection. If you go up to the admin section, you can create a thing called an attribute called preview. And this is a function that returns a string. In this case, we wanted to return a URL. And then because it's a function, you actually have access to the doc. So the doc, and this document is this entire record, and we just need the ID for now. And so we're going to do HTTP localhost 3000, and then we have our properties, and then the ID, like that. And you can see that will direct us over to here. On the front end, we have properties and then the page. So now if you go back to the admin panel, now we see the preview link. And if you click on that, should take you to, yeah, it's going to compile first, but yep. And there we are. There's the page. And you can see here we have our features. And then of course we still have our address. All right, so I just wanted to show that first, and then now we're going to update this page a little bit to show these features. All right, so let's head on over to that page. This is our properties page. We don't need that. right. So I did some changes to the UI just to kind of make it look a little better while we're testing the data out on here. And so I'm just going to paste that in. And so now let's add shadcn card. We want to add the card. Okay. And now we can import it. And that should be it. It's already set up to include the features, and so we'll just walk through it in this case. You'll see here. You'll see why I'll walk through why I did certain things, but let's take a look at what it looks like now. Let it compile. All right, so yeah, this is all I wanted to do. I wanted to make it look a little bit prettier to make it nicer to work with. But you can see here we have, like in the intro of the video, we have the title, the address, and the features. And so let me show you something. Here, I have a little bit of a catch here for TypeScript here. This if type of feature equals number, then just return null. And if you remove that, you're going to get some TypeScript warnings on name does not exist, even though we know it does. But if you notice the type, it's number or feature. And if you go into the property types or the payload types file, and you look at feature, or sorry, if you look at property and you look at the features, it's going to be either an array of numbers or an array of actual features. And the reason for that is because of depth. If you have a depth of 0, I believe it's just a number. So if you go into the admin panel, let that load. All right, so if you go into the admin panel, you can see here features is not a number, it's the actual feature. But if you change the depth to 0, I believe those will be integers. Okay, so what I did was, because it's either a number or a feature, what I did was I just said if type of feature is a number, then return null. That means TypeScript is now aware of the fact that it is not a number, therefore it is a feature. You're likely going to be doing this quite frequently when you want access to any relationship field or related field. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is, just like we did with our Zipcodes, we're going to create a seeder for our features. And that will allow us to populate the database. While in development, I really like having seeders to test a lot of different concepts out. We can almost like in an idempotent manner, we can clear the database and then populate it with whatever data we need to test out various features on the front end or in the admin panel, that kind of stuff. So it's excellent during development. So when you make changes, you can just run the seeder, which then clears everything out and then repopulates with whatever data you want to test with. So it's a really good testing tool. So we're going to go over into our seeders. We have our Zipcodes seeder, but now we're going to create one for features. So we're going to export a function called seed features, and that's going to be an async function. And just like the Zipcode seeder, we're passing in the payload object right here, and from the main seeder file. So we do that over here. We pass in the object. All kinds of different ways you can handle that, but that's just the way I chose to do it. And we just need to type it there. And let's just console log this out. Seeding features. Oh, you know, I didn't mention something that I learned while working on this. You'll notice this is a warning. This isn't an error. If you go to the front end, you're not going to notice it here. And this is not even, this is a hydration error. So you're not even going to see the error. Maybe in console log. Yeah, you don't even see it in the console log. Oh no, you'll see it here as a warning. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen this warning before, but you can actually fix that. I clicked on this link to go check it out, and I'll just make it short. But basically what you do is the idea is that params is now an async. You fetch the params from the request asynchronously. So what you do is you can say const id equals await, and then params, I believe, like that. And so then now we have id, and then we actually don't need this now. And let's see if that goes away now. Yeah, so that warning is no longer there. So you need to get your params asynchronously. So a lot of you probably already know that, but that's just a NextJS thing. So I just learned it. All right, so let's get back to our seeder. Now, because we have zip codes tied to properties now, we'll have to clear, in our seeder, we need to clear all collections, not just the ones we're seeding. Here's an example. If you had a users collection with favorited properties, if you tried to delete properties and then there was a user record that was associated with one of those properties, you would end up with the same error when you're trying to seed. So it's really good to always be aware of the fact that at the very start of your seeder, during development, you're going to want to make sure everything is cleared out of your database. All right, so just be aware of that. So now we're cleared. Now we can add our feature seeder. And now it's just a console log right now. Just want to make sure it works. And seeding features. Okay, so let's head back over here, and I'm going to start creating some arrays that Claude, actually some AI, helped me with, rather than using like something like Faker.js, if you're familiar with that. I actually had Claude just generate me a bunch of arrays of features that we can use, random features. And so first of all, I'll show you interior features. So we're just going to put these up here. I'm just going to copy and paste them in here. So we have interior features, and then we're going to have exterior features. And then we're going to have community features. We're really adding a bunch just to really fill out the database. And when we go into production, we're going to actually use this one particular seeder to make sure that the production admin panel already has all of this stuff ready to go inside the admin panel. And then other features, miscellaneous features. Okay. And then what I do is I combine all of them into a single array, like so. And these are typed as feature category. And you can grab that from our type file, our payload types. So we're gonna create a type called feature category equals feature, and we're going to grab that from the payload type. That's still not going to work, but what you can do is you can say category like that. So now if you hover over feature category, you can see all of the available categories: interior, exterior, community, or other. So you can't actually create a different category here without it barking at you. So that's a pretty cool little way to create your types off of sub properties. And then I'm going to create some promises. I'll show you here. I'm just going to copy and paste this in here. So we have these an array of promises. So we have all of our features. We map through those. We get a feature, and then we do payload create on that collection and the feature right here. We add it as data. All right. So, and then what we do is we just do promise.all like that. And that should, when we run this now, it should create it. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. Oh, something happened here. All right. Oh, you know what? We didn't delete. We need to clear out the features also. There we go. Because we made the name field unique, there was already, we added manually into the admin panel, we added hardwood floors, for instance, and we have that in our seeder too, so it's going to break when it tries to use that. So, and there we go. We have our 195 zip codes and completed our features. And there we go. Go into the features and look at all that. That looks really good. We have 45 features, all with different categories. Exterior, interior, the API here. And we can create a feature. If we try to create hardwood floors, this should give us an error. I'll make that interior. Yeah, sure enough. All right. Outdoor. Call it a fire pit. Backyard fire pit. Is that really not how you? All right. Exterior. There we go. So now when we go to our properties, add our zip code, price, and listing status, and now we have all these features, and you can even you should be able to search for them too. Outdoor kitchen, fire, backyard fire pit. There we go. And let's do a couple more. Save that, and then go to our preview. All right, that works. Now, I wanted to show you, I wanted to try something I wanted to try a different way of querying the property. So with Payload, you have a few options to query the data. You have the local API, which we've been using. We're using the local API, but it also has the ability to get the data through a REST API, and then also GraphQL. I wanted to just so I can get exposed to more features within Payload while we're working on this, even though I technically don't really need it all that much, but I'm trying to get exposed to more of this stuff so I can get used to using it. And so I decided to change this to use the REST API instead. And so what I'm going to do, and when I did that, I was able to work through some issue. I learned some things about the REST API that I had previously previously didn't know. And so that is the benefit of kind of exposing yourself to as many features, even though you may not need them. If you expose yourself to using them, you may uncover some issues and then solve some problems that you otherwise would have never run into. So that's what we're going to kind of think of this as a bonus to this video. And so we're going to run through that real quick, and I'll show you the problem that I ran into that I resolved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function up here called fetch property, and we're going to pass in the ID as a string, and this is going to be an async function like that. And one of the reasons why I was doing this was because it wasn't giving me like if you pass in an ID that doesn't exist, say like that, you're getting a not found error. And I'm kind of surprised that you wouldn't automatically get the 404, but NextJS does offer you the ability to generate a 404 based off of missing. Like if you queried like a user or even a property and no property was returned, then you can actually tell NextJS to respond with a 404 page. And I'll show you that after I finish this REST API. So we're going to create a request using fetch. And we're just going to put our local server in there. API, and I'll show you this how to get to this path here. So then you would say properties and then the ID. Okay, so all collections are available through the REST API. So if I went to the browser and I said API, just prefixed your collection, or it's just a coincidence that our page is called the route includes properties, but yeah, you need to put the collection name in there. So you could actually do for instance users, and you'll get a JSON response so whatever collection you put in there, you can put features, properties, and of course zip codes. So that's available to you. You don't even have to create anything. Payload just offers that out of the box. So let's go back to properties and grab this ID like that. And so now you can see this document. So we're just going to use this in here and do a couple little checks here. We say if not res dot OK, return null, like that. And then we say return res.json. All right, so now we can get rid of, let's get rid of this, this whole thing. We don't want that. And now we're going to say const property equals await fetch property. And then we pass in the ID. So let's see if that worked. Oh, why isn't that working? Oh, so now we're getting some type issues here, and so we need to we created that here. So if you look at, if you hover over this, this is returning an any. Okay, and so you can see here there's an issue. Even though we were able to access it, you can see here it's going to be, we can say if, I'll tell you why it didn't return here in a second. If not property, we're going to return a 404. And you can do that in NextJS with not found under next navigation. And so now we don't need config, and now we don't need get payload, and we're getting not found from next navigation. And so now if there's no property, we're going to return a 404. And there you go. You can see a 404. But we already know that this this ID exists. Why is it not returning? It works. This API works. We checked to see if this is the same exact URL as what we just put in the browser. But the issue is that these, by default, these REST endpoints are they're secured. So you have to be authenticated in order to access them. And when you access them from the browser, I'm already logged in, therefore I can access it. So if I were to copy this, or if I were to go to API like that, copy this, open up a incognito window, paste that in there, it's going to give you, it's actually going to respond with a 403, which is like an authorization error. And so the reason why you can do it here is because we're logged in, and it uses the same cookies. So what we need to do, this is not done on the client, this is done server side, and so it's not aware of the cookies. So what I did was, and I don't know if this is documented, I've never really seen this before. What I did was I knew that the cookies were at the server level, so they must be in the headers, the server headers. So what I did was I said headers, which is just a standard attribute for the fetch configuration. And then what I did was I said await headers from next headers, and that is a function. And so now this fetch call now includes all the headers, including any server cookies. And now this should work. So if we go back to that, and there we go. That works now. So just so that you need to be aware of that. If you're running this REST API on the server, you need to make sure you're also including the headers, or more specifically, the cookies. And let's see. So let's add a fake ID here, and you can see there you go, a 404. So that's a bit of a little bit of a bonus feature just from me playing around and trying different features so I can get exposed to more stuff in Payload. All right, that does it for this video today. We covered quite a bit. We added the features collection to the properties as a relationship. We created the preview link so that when you're editing a property in the admin panel, it would be really nice and convenient to be able to just click a link that will take you over to the actual page, the front end view of that property. So you can click the link and it takes you to the property's URL. Then we updated the stubbed out properties page on the front end as well with the new features which we queried. And then we included a seeder for the features, just like we did for Zipcodes in the previous video. All right, and then there was a bonus where I decided that I wanted to get exposed to more features in Payload, like the REST API that they offer. Even though technically I don't need the REST API, I'm already using the local API to query the property on the front end, and that was fine. Nothing was broken per se. So I like to expose myself to these features, different features that Payload offers, so that I can have an opportunity to learn how to use those. And so I swapped out the local API on the property detail page with the REST API and uncovered some issues doing that. And so we found some solutions in there and resolved it. And so I learned quite a bit, and I hope you did too. All right. And if you did learn a lot, or you feel like something was missing, let me know in the comments. Is there anything I could be improving on? I'm very new to video production and public speaking and all of that. So I'm really trying my best to make sure that each one of these videos is you can walk away with a lot of value. And so yeah, anything, I'm open to any comment. I've already adapted to some of the comments that some of you have left, even the ones that are, a little bit more constructive and critical, which is completely fine with me. I'm totally okay with it. So let me know if there's anything I could be doing better, and of course, if there's anything I'm doing right, let me know that as well. So all right. In the next video, we're likely going to be touching on some more fields for the properties collection. It's going to be quite extensive, lots of stuff. We need the map. We need, so that requires a lat and long. And then also, once we start adding a lot of fields in the admin panel, you're going to see the admin panel kind of grow and look a little bit ugly. And so I'm going to show you how to sort of reorganize things in the admin panel as it relates to the properties collection, so that it looks a little bit nicer. So you can do that in Payload. So all right, that's what we're going to do in the next one. But until then, we'll see you then. All right, thanks.